Meanwhile, the touch of dawnlight had activated the small crystal at the end of the master's staff, where it lay on the central stone. First, the crystal glowed, as though concentrating the light in itself. Then, the wood around it smouldered and began to burn. The flame moved slowly down the stick, away from the crystal, leaving behind a line of white embers and a scorch mark on the stone. The smoke curled into the mists, which were filling with light. A.C.H picked up one of the 3 pots in front of him and tipped it upside down, pouring a stream of dry soil into Jen's hand. Urut was playing in the lowest register of his harp, and Ursol directed the chorus accordingly.
"With the ground, be one,"
A.C.H told Jen. He threw the pot away. It shattered on the tallest standing stone, scattering fragments over Ursu's coat. A.C.H picked up the second pot. Urut and Ursol moved to the middle register. From the pot, A.C.H poured water over Jen's hand.
"With water, be one."
He threw the pot after the first and picked up the third. The harp and chanting soared. When A.C.H upturned the pot, nothing came out.
"With the air, be one."
He handed the pot to Jen, who looked at him questioningly. A.C.H offered no answer. Jen threw the pot against the stone where it shattered. A.C.H nodded slowly. The staff had burned itself away. Its expiring smoke rose to meet a lambent wraith of mist that seemed to be descending into the triangle of stones. Jen saw that the coat of Ursu had now evaporated into nothingness. Only the shards of the smashed pots remained where the coat had been.
"Be one, Jen,"
A.C.H told him,
"and make one. Now you must go, as the master told you."
"Go?" Jen asked. "Go where? What must I do?" For years he had yearned to leave the valley. The Uru had raised him with loving care. At the appointed times they had cut his hair, taught him to swim, to tie knots, to sharpen a knife, had initiated him into the mysteries of music and the principles of geometry, had tested him by tasks and isolation, but never had they allowed him to explore outside the valley. And now that he was bidden to leave, he wished to remain, to say he was not yet ready. The truth, he realized, was that he did not want to abandon what was familiar and customary. Besides, it was one thing to wish to explore, it was quite another to be expelled.
"You must go where the master showed you,"
A.C.H told him.
"To the high hill, to the dome of Aughra, who watches the heavens and keeps her secrets."
Ursu showed me such an image in a bowl, but I don't know where the place is. How do I get there? What am I supposed to do there? How do I know I can do it? And who is Aughra? A.C.H replied in his slow voice.
"Your need is to go with questions, not with answers, as the cave needs the mountain."
Jen controlled a rising feeling of panic. "But A.C.H, you can see the future, can't you? Please, at least tell me what will happen." A.C.H paused. The Uru continued their chanting as the sun rose above the rim of the horizon.
"The future is many futures," A.C.H told him. "We see them all. Which one will be yours is for you to seek."
He pointed at a carving on the standing stone near them. It pictured 3 concentric circles inside a triangle.
"This I will tell you,"
A.C.H went on.
"Very soon the 3-mate one will look down. Great vibrations will be felt by all who touch rock. Unless by then you have found the future you must seek, and made what was broken whole, what was dark light, then nothing can be whole, and dark will be the fate of all creatures on Thra."
"But I am frightened of what is dark, A.C.H.
"With reason," the Uru replied. "Darkness imprisons the light. Darkness destroys all beings, covets all energy. It is evil."
"What is evil?" Jen asked.
"Evil does not exist,"
A.C.H answered.
"Evil is disharmony between existences. Now go, Gelfling, with your questions."
A.C.H turned away, faced the sun, and joined the chanting of the Uru. Jen took his first steps on the spiral path leading out of the valley. When he reached the cave where he had lived with Ursu, he paused and looked down onto the Thalweg. Rising up to him came the deep nine-toned chant of the Uru. He saw that they were all staring up at him. Whether it was their gaze or their chant or the seed of courage he had experienced at Ursu's death, he did not know, but a force propelled him past the mouth of the cave and on, up the spiral path. At the shoulder of the valley, higher than he had ever been on his own, he glanced back once more. The waterfalls were tiny, sparkling jewels in the early sunlight. He took a deep breath. For the reassurance of a familiar object in a strange world, he put his hand up to touch his flute, which he carried on a leather neck string. Near him was another line of standing stones. They were tall and narrow, shooting up from the ground like needles. Seen from the valley below, they had always marked the boundary of his world. On them he saw carvings similar to those on the stones that formed the triangle down below, where the chanting of the Uru continued, still surprisingly distinct even from where Jen stood. Perhaps, Jen thought, the carvings might offer him some indication of the direction he was supposed to take. He approached the nearest stone to examine it. It had a black patina on it, like soot. He reached out to rub it off, but withdrew his hand sharply. The stone was burning hot. He remembered what he had seen the previous day, sparks travelling across the valley and over its rim. These stones must have been struck by lightning. He breathed deeply again and walked on, over the shoulder of the valley and out of sight of his home. After a few steps, the ground in front of him began to slope down again. Soon Jen was standing on the brink of a wide, bowl-shaped plain, lush with vegetation and sprinkled with woods. Far away on the misty horizon, the plain terminated in a range of rounded hills.
"To the high hill,"
Urzar had said. That must be the direction he had to take.